Yes.
Yeah. And with what happened to Dr. John O'Connor, when I first started speaking out, the regulators, the companies, even my neighbors, my community, some of my best friends were saying, I'm just fear-mongering, I'm just scaring people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with my water. Well, people who've never even been in my house were publicly saying my water was always contaminated. So it's an Alberta, I think it's a really big Alberta problem. If you do raise a concern, they try to discredit you. Then after that didn't work, then now they call me insane. They say I'm just that crazy lady at Rosemont. And even a lawsuit makes it even more obvious how crazy I am, because nobody in their right mind, lawyers have said that, nobody in their right mind would do what I'm doing.
Well, I'm glad you haven't stopped speaking, and John O'Connor, they'll never shut him up. Don't feel Irishman. Just keep on
But
talking.
more people need to speak.
Yeah.
And you know what happened at Fox Creek on the 3rd, a whistleblower with Trilogy. He Facebooked an incident happening with a cement job gone bad near Fox Creek. That got published in the Fox Creek Times on the 4th, yesterday. Yeah. I was almost going to add a slide today, but I knew the talk was already too complicated. But those are the kinds of things, I've been waiting 10, well, and I hate that term, whistleblower. People doing their, I'm not a whistleblower. I work in this industry. I have a business. I am incorporated. It is my business's due diligence, to speak out. So for 10 years I've been waiting for industry to speak out, for regulator staff to speak out. A man came to me when I visited the U of A in 2011 afterwards, and he said to me, I worked at the regulator at Alberta Environment my whole career. I'm on pension now, and I know that they're destroying the actual real physical evidence of the base of groundwater protection maps in Alberta. They're shredding them all. And I said, oh, you need to go public with that. No, he says, I don't want to harm my pension. But the fears are real, and unfortunately, unless people start saying this has to stop, it will only get worse. We now have a regulator much worse. The most scary thing about the new energy regulator is they have swallowed up PEA, our Environmental and Protection and Enhancement Act, and the Water Act. Those two acts that protect us, our water, air, our lands, are now under the control of the oil and gas industry. That's unconscionable. It's unforgivable. It should not be allowed. But there's not enough people saying it. And what I'm doing is really scary. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like my life. I hate it. I'm not a public speaker. This is not my forte. I like researching and reading, and my work has been above surface. I did a lot of work in the SAGME. Caribou protection plans, listed species, stress hormone studies, moose, wolverine. That's what I ought to be doing. This has taken me completely away from my career, but I don't believe I have the right not to do what I'm doing. We need more people doing that. But the whistleblower at Fox Creek, I'm delighted.
I just wanted to say that the person who alerted us 5 years ago to concerns about in situ was a small oil company president from Calgary who happened to be married to Métis families in northeastern Alberta, in the Concord area. He came to us and wanted to speak. So we provided speaking opportunities in Cold Lake, Lac La Biche, Athabasca, Fort Assiniboine, and he spoke out. And yes, he suffered a bit for it, but he still is allowed in the Oil Lands Club. And I think that's what we need. There are good people in the oil and gas industry who know these things and will share them if they're given some kind of encouragement or protection.
The data that I have proving in counterfactual aquifers and broke the law, they're not allowed to do what they did. That data was sent to me by two very high quality, credible, very well respected geologists. And I wouldn't have that information. They taught me how to interpret it, understand the data, and to access it. I'm very grateful to them. I think I do believe it's going to start coming out more and more. But people are afraid of, a lot of afraid of speaking out.
I think in the industry, I'm not part of it, but the industry industry level, we must realize that honesty is the best policy at some point. And they have to, I mean, it just is a business model to come out, you know, obviously the truth hurts sometimes, but if you want a long-term profit, a long-term, you know, social license, then you have to be honest at some point.
Well, always since Alberta brags about having the highest environmental standards on the planet, which isn't totally true. But the problem is Alberta never enforces it. This is the problem. And they no longer have any staff. In the '93 climate revolution, we saw big cutbacks, not only in scientists, but in the enforcement staff. And now it's hard to find somebody. If you've got an issue with something happening now, you go to somebody and first of all, they're terrorist-driven. And now they're combined with sustainable resource development. So we've got the people who want to make money from the environment together with the protectors. And so there's just, at this point, the government is reluctant to enforce, and they don't have the people out there. So I think there has to be a whole-scale kind of revolutionary change in things, and particularly the federal government. Now we've got the federal scientists muzzled, but
We've
anyway.
also got a lot of deregulation happening both federally and in Alberta. And I don't know, my grandmother taught me that the people who boast how great they are, don't believe them. You go and look to the actions. Why are we even believing a regulator who says we're best in the world, we're world class? If you go to all the communities where there's water contamination from the oil and gas industry, the regulators all say the same thing. They all say it, or some of them are changing it a little bit. New Brunswick is saying we're best in North America, or we're best in Europe. But if you are the best regulator, you're busy doing and enforcing and not deregulating while telling the public you are regulating. You don't have to say it.
April, anything else?
Yeah, I just got a question for scientists. You talked about a lot of your data was from the States for in the production gas and soil.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Your data that you
Yeah.
collected from your slides that mostly from the States for
No.
the production gas. And
No, it's
soil
mostly
gas.
from British Columbia.
Oh, from BC. Are you going to be doing any in the future for in Alberta for the soil base
I've
and production gas?
I've done thousands of samples in Alberta, but they're all conventional.
And not for the angle.
Yeah, the only sample set that I have
Yeah.
for the deep wells that are horizontal are all from British Columbia.
Mm.
Because in British Columbia, they started doing this a few years before Alberta.
So will you be doing it?
Well, if they send, I rely on industry sending me samples.
Oh, okay.
You can't just go to an oil well and turn on a tap and collect samples. You have to have cooperation. So I have to wait for people to send me. And I usually, most of the time, the only samples I get are from problems. When someone has a problem, they collect the gas and send it to me. So I rely on, I can't choose to say, I want a sample from here.
Oh, I see.
I have to wait till someone says, oh, I have a leak. Can you tell me where the leak is?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I have a very biased sampling.
Hey, well, thanks again for coming. The people that were able to make it, I'm very glad that we were able to get a document of this event as well, and we'll be putting it on YouTube and then linking it to the various sites. So I guess we'll wrap up. We're a little bit over time, I think, so we'll have to wrap up. And I'd like to thank St. Mary the Lake School as well for allowing us to use the space.
Do you guys have any websites or any place people can go for information
Yeah.
about any of your research or
I don't have a web.
presentations?
She has a web. So what do you want?
Either or, yeah,
The
either one.
lawsuit website is ernst-versus-encana.com or .ca. But there's other websites, not just mine. There's no Drilling Lethbridge. They want to keep it out of Lethbridge. They have a Facebook page and a website, No Drilling Lethbridge. And they had a walk today. And Fracking Canada has a website. There's a number of them across the country. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, there's lots.
Okay, thank you.